All right, everybody, it's Andrew Brown from the AWS Cloud Project Bootcamp, and we are continuing on where we were attempting to deploy our cluster with this additional configuration. And so over here, we were getting some errors, and we'll work through those errors because we do need to have that that certificate attached to whatever, because we add our, what do we put in this one, our cluster? I think our load balancer, right? And so up here, sorry. So we add in here. It's great that we took the time to document this. Otherwise, I would have not remembered what was in here. But yeah, there's that ALB, and that ALB needs to have a certificate attached to it. So here we probably should even document saying like certificate attached from ACM. So Amazon Certification Manager. So I don't see that listed here. Okay, and so, once that is there, then I guess we'll look at what the next steps are. But anyway, we'll go back over here because it was having an issue with the security groups that we were trying to create. So over here, this one is not our actual error. The error is down below here where it says security group CRUD cluster ALB SG is not valid. So there's something that it doesn't like about it. I don't know if we'll find anything useful in CloudTrail, but let's go take a look anyway, because I was saying before that you should get in the habit of checking CloudTrail for more information. And at some point we will do this and we'll find something out. So if we go to our event history here, we can find something where it's trying to create the security group. So today is April 30th. And so if we go here, it says create security group. That might be our issue there. And so we'll scroll on down and see if this is the one that's running the error. No issue on this one. CRUD CRD cluster ALB SG. Okay. All right. So that's not exactly giving us what we want. We have authorized security groups. So maybe this is the issue. Because somewhere here, we should expect to see the problem, right? Here you can see it's attempting to delete it. Maybe, well, you notice it's trying to delete the cluster, so it probably failed on the create load balancer here. Ah, here it is. So create the security group, and then when it's trying to attach that security group or have the associated one, it just says it's not valid. So let's go take a look here and see where the ALB is configured. So here it's configured, and for the security group, it says reference ALB SG, so that is true. So what I'll do is just close out these tabs here, and we'll split so we can kind of see a little bit better where we are here. I'm going to search for ALB SG down below here. I'm just going to widen this so I can see this a little bit better. And it's saying that it's not valid. So what's not valid about it is the question. And so what I'm going to do is bring this over, and we will make a new ChatGPT. So what it, or so I could say, is this a valid security group for AWS? And we'll see what it says. Okay, so CloudFormation says it's not valid when creating an ALB. Okay, and so I guess ChatGPT is not smart enough to answer that for us. So just give me a moment to figure it out, okay? All right, I thought that it might be this, but it's suggesting that security group should be the group ID, not the group name. So it's going to be whatever returns back for that. So what we can do is click through to the security group here. Or if we hold control, we can open up these links here in Gitpod. And we can go down to our return values. And by default, when you pass this, it returns the resource ID. But that's what we want, isn't it? When you pass the logical ID of this resource, the ref function references the return of the resource ID. Okay, well, let's open up the ALB here, and let's see what it wants. So we'll go down here to security groups. It says the IDs of the security groups of the load balancer. The IDs of the security groups of the load balancer. And if we go back over here, this is for security group, the resource ID. Then down below here, we have the get attribute where it says the group ID specified by the security group. So I'm not sure why it's complaining about the ref. It seems like that should work if it is returning the ID there. But for whatever reason, it's not doing what we think it's supposed to be doing. We could also try this group ID and see if that resolves it. It also was unable to delete the cluster for some reason. So it says error occurred during delete cluster. The specified cluster is in a busy state. So probably if we attempt to delete it again, it probably will delete the stack. Okay, because at the time it was probably creating it and you can't just delete it immediately. So we'll go back over here and that stack is gone, which is totally fine. And so I suppose we could just try using the get attribs and see if that puts us in better shape. So I think that was just group ID on there. So we'll go back over here. And for those return values here, group ID, yep, that's exactly that example there. And so we'll see if that fixes it. And we'll go ahead and attempt to deploy this again. So just give it a moment here. Waiting for change set. So we'll go back over to here. Give this a refresh. We'll click into the cluster. We'll go to change sets and we'll say execute change set. And we'll see if it has better luck this time around. So remember, always hit this refresh button because, you know, it's not just going to update on its own. I'll be back here if it errors out or if it's successful, okay? All right, so it failed. Let's go take a look at as to why. A load balancer cannot be attached to multiple subnets in the same AZ. So, I mean, that's fair enough. So we must have a misconfiguration within our ALB here. So let's go take a look here. So probably, yeah, so we bring in our subnets. And so what it's saying is that, at least at our networking layer, we've made some kind of mistake. So let's go take a look at our VPC here. I'll open it up in a new tab. All right. And we'll just give it a moment here. We'll go into VPCs. We'll go into CRUD VPC resource map here. And so here I can see 1A, 1B, 1D. So it's showing me that we have 3 subnets, or sorry, well, we have 6 subnets, but they're all from different ones here. So maybe what's happening is it could be bringing in one from the private ones. That's a good question. So what we'll do is we'll go and take a look at the output, because I'm pretty sure we don't output all 6 of them, just some of them, right? So we'll go back over to CloudFormation here. We'll take a look at our stacks. Into our networking stack, we'll go over to our outputs. And actually, we have all of our subnets. We have all of our publics and our privates. And that's interesting. So, yeah, okay. So I guess the question is, do we individually select them over here, or are we just splitting and bringing them all in? So we'll go back over to our application here, our ALB. And so this is the issue, is that we're importing every single value, but we don't need every single one. We just need, you know, only the public or only the private subnets. So we can go back and we can modify our public one or our private one. Like we can make 2 that separate them out or bring them all together. I think what I would prefer to do is go modify our old networking, our old networking stack. Old, we just made it, but our networking stack here. And so what we can do is export them out separately. So here we have subnet IDs. So what I'm going to do is say public subnet IDs, and then we'll say private subnet IDs. And we know that these ones are public, and then these ones will be private. And so that's the adjustment that I would like to make there. I'm not sure why that is complaining. All sequences must start at the same YAML column. It's because we need this here. And I'm going to go up, and we are going to deploy that. And so that will change the outputs. And we will go back over to CloudFormation here. And we'll give this, well, we have to go to the change set, and we will accept the change set, execute change set. And we'll go to our outputs. This should be pretty quick. So we have our public subnets and our private subnets now. And so that should make our lives a lot easier. Just double checking to make sure these are correctly set. So why I didn't call this one subnet public IP IDs and whatever, that's fine. I only named it like subnet pub 1 because we're listing multiples here, but when it's like that, it's fine if it's in the other way here. So now what we can do is look for our load balancer. Let's close this here, make sure we're not confused. I'm gonna copy that. This is our cluster, and so I'm just gonna change this to public subnet IDs, and that should fix that issue there. I'm gonna go back over to my stack, into my cluster here, and this is review in progress, which can't be true. That one failed, so we'll do that and go hit delete. Never just trust what you're looking at. Hit that refresh button, especially if you're using Azure. Azure's the worst. You gotta, like, for that kind of thing. But what we'll do is go back over here, and we will go ahead now and deploy our cluster, and hopefully it will take root this time, okay? And we'll go over here, we'll refresh, and we'll go to our change set, and we will execute our change set. Okay? And we'll refresh this, and we have an error. So no exported name, CRUD pub subnet IDs not found. It's possible that we did not set this correctly. So we'll go here, at least, well, I mean, I didn't. Maybe you were paying attention and you didn't make this mistake, but I certainly did. So we'll go here. We'll save that. I'll go back to this cluster here. I'll delete this one, and we'll go back over here, and we will deploy our networking layer here. And we'll go back over to CloudFormation, we'll refresh. We'll click into this one, go to change sets, and we will execute our change set. Okay. And so we'll go check our outputs. And we'll make sure those export names are there. They are, good. I'll just get rid of some of those, and we will go back over to our stacks. We'll go over here, and I will go and do a cluster deploy. That's taking its time. We'll go back and refresh this, and we see our CRUD cluster. We'll go to change sets, and we'll say execute change set. And we'll give that a refresh, and so that is working its way there. Let's hope that we don't get an error this time, okay? All right, so we have a new error, and this says the security group does not belong to the VPC. So, well, we got more problems, but it's not a big deal. This is what we work through as we attempt to implement our stuff here. So what we'll do is look for our security group. So I believe we called SG. And that's one thing where I kind of get annoyed with having your own VPC, is that a lot of times a lot of resources you launch, you have to remember that they have to be in the correct VPC. But, you know, it is probably good to have your own VPC. At least it's great practice for us here. But you know, it's totally okay to use the default VPC. Some cloud providers like GCP, they tell you to delete or not use the default and make your own. But AWS, it's a different story. But we are creating our own. But anyway, we'll look for, I'm in the wrong tab. This is networking. I need cluster. And so in here, we have our security group. And it'd be really nice if we had like a drawer for our YAML, but like for structure for top level items, but whatever. So somewhere in here, there should be a way to specify the VPC. So what I'll do, I'll click and open this up, and we'll take a look at our options here. VPC ID. Okay, so we'll go over here and we'll put in VPC ID. All right. Sorry, anyway, so we need to bring in that VPC ID. Now, the question is, do we already have that up there? My dogs are in the room, they're driving me crazy here. Mona, just sit down. And what we'll do is take a look here and see what kind of information we're passing along, because at this point, I don't think we pass along the VPC ID. It does get exported, so we can grab it that way. So that's definitely something that we can do there. And so what I'll do is I'll go and take a look at our CloudFormation here. And we'll go to outputs here, VPC ID. Okay, so we'll just import it like the other one. So I'm just going to search for import here. Oh, looks like we've done this before. Okay, great. So we'll just go ahead and copy that and paste this in here. Of course, it doesn't copy properly, so we'll try that again as per usual. We'll paste that in. There we go. I just realized that we've been updating our exports for our networking layer. So I'm going to go back to here. Sorry, my dog's driving me crazy. Back to here, and I'm going to go and open up our diagram from before. All right, so over here, whoops. We said subnet IDs, and actually now it really is, if I can click into the right one here, we'll just bring this down here. So we now have and this is being very finicky today, so we'll just zoom in. Not sure why it is snapping like crazy, so I'll go here and look for snapping. Don't snap to objects, please. Thank you, that's better. Say public, private. And so I know we are using this one, so we'll go here. Okay. And I'll just take this end off here. Actually, the other way, so let's flip that. And we'll take that one off. There we go. And so now we know that those two are being passed along. All right, so we'll go back over here. And we'll go and take down the old one here. So we'll go here and delete that. And we're going to go close up some of these tabs here. And I want to go back to here and redeploy that cluster. I'll just go ahead. I'm just going to try to adjust my camera here. It's kind of driving me crazy here. That's a little bit off. There we go. And this time it seems like it's in better shape. Let's check the front here. Still going. I'll see you back here whether it succeeds or fails, okay? All right, so it looks like our cluster was successful, so we'll take a look here. You can see the description isn't the nicest looking over here, but at least in our documentation it's nice. So, you know, it's up to you if you want to fix this so this looks nicer, but yeah, so it looks like our cluster is now deployed. So what we'll do is proceed to diagramming what it is that we've created, and then we'll think about what it is that we want to do next, okay? So I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.